Good afternoon. Welcome. Welcome to, I was about to say the market closed, but welcome to this week. And boy, what a week it has been. Holy banana bread. The market was up. It was down. It was up and down again. It was all over the place. It was like a seesaw market week. So, oh boy, yeah, we got lots of news, got lots of stuff going on today, of course. And this week coming up. It's a short week. We got Good Friday coming up. So Easter weekend is coming. That means hopefully it means a little bit of sanity in the market for the coming week. Lots of news. Amazingly enough, got a lot of nuclear news this time around. So we've got multiple nuclear stories. So this could be an explosive episode for sure. All right. Oh boy. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. All right. You guys are already in the chat, hitting it up. Nice and early. In first, of course, good old Jonathan. Am I late for the US bond sell-off? No, you're not. And 9 says higher coupons sound good to me. And for those of you who don't know, a payment, so the dividend that you get from a bond, it's called a coupon. So now you know. Now you know. Bismarck, he says, happy Sunday, everybody. Mario says, good afternoon, everyone. Great warm day in the city. Yeah, I think I'm going to call it. Winter's finally gone. And of course, I'm saying this as I saw a thing on the Weather Network yesterday saying, oh, the polar vortex is back. Who cares? Winter's gone. It's over. I'm ready for the summer. Mary is in the house with a good afternoon. And of course, everybody, Mary is our captain of the like button. So hit the like button, turn it blue. It lets the algorithm know that you're watching and that people are interacting, and it then pushes out the live stream to more folks. So definitely hit that like button. I'm gonna buy the dip and sip some gains here. Very good, very good. Stan says good afternoon, and we got Larry. Larry, who made a killing last week with some of the big dips. Oh, Larry had a steak dinner, I think, as well, or no, was it a hamburger? I think it was a hamburger. All right, yes, as I suspected, stupid tariffs on chips dropped. Still long NVDX times 2 bulls, and So yeah, if you haven't heard, yesterday, Donald let us know that the tariffs on different tech stuff, so chips and things coming out of China, are being waived. So he's he's appeasing the tech bros who helped prop him up. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. But it does mean that your next iPhone or Samsung or Google Pixel may not put you farther behind than we thought it would. Lisa is in the house with a hello, everyone. We got Jordan. Happy Sunday, fun day, Candace. Hope you're well. Yeah, absolutely. And Larry is expecting a green Monday. I'm concurring. I'm thinking Monday. I think is going to be the fact that we got this news about the exemptions on tech, on some of those tech chips and things like that. I think that's going to really, really rally the market Monday. I think Monday will be a nice day. Who knows what's going to happen as we get closer to Good Friday? Trump might be getting his hammer and nails ready to crucify the market. We just don't know. So it's going to be interesting. It's definitely going to be interesting nonetheless. Now, our top. Let's push me down there. We're going to jump in nice and early. We'll get our top story out of the way. Yes, I now have a James Bond beaver. So, what's going on? So we had an interesting trend during the week. So investors have started dumping U.S. government bonds. Now, normally when the market is in the reds, when we're getting all kinds of chaos, normally those bonds are seen as a safe haven. But now, well, despite the fact that there's really high interest or coupon rates on them at the moment, investors are just saying, I'm not taking a chance on the US government. So it's kind of an unusual development because it kind of goes against, like when stocks are falling, bonds are going up. That's kind of the way it works. But right now, nope, nope. Basically, experts are kind of worried that big banks, funds, and traders are simply losing faith in America as a good place to store their money. So right now, normally that U.S. market, the U.S. bond market, is one of the biggest and most stable in the world. But that 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 instability we're seeing could certainly be very interesting. Now, I will mention that a week ago on your 10-year Treasury, you were looking at a coupon rate of 4.01%. On Friday. Because of the bonds falling, it got as high as 4.58%. So that is pretty big. And like I said, bonds, they're supposed to move in the opposite direction of the market. And that's not what we've been seeing. And it's kind of an interesting thing. And one of the things that a lot of funds, a lot of hedge funds, a lot of investment funds, they like to look at bonds when the market is in bad shape, when we have a turmoil to the economy. And the reason they like that is kind of it kind of sort of dampens a little bit of their of the falling. So it helps sort of prop up a little bit their portfolios a little bit. So during bad markets, they will normally move to a fixed income, and bonds being fixed income. Although right now they're kind of working in an unusual way, going in the opposite direction. Now, this is what's really interesting. Because bonds were heading down as the stocks were heading down, it scared a certain someone. It scared our big old orange Oompa Loompa to the south, and that 90-day pause, it the bonds played a part in that. The bonds scared him a little bit. There were other factors. Don't It's not all just the bonds, but the bonds certainly helped Donald Trump make that decision to do this. Now, some people were thinking, what's going on? Is China offloading some of their U.S. Treasury because of the tariffs as a retaliation? But the reality is that's probably not what's going on, because to do that, it would actually hurt China's own economy, and I don't think they want to do that right now. So the more likely culprit is that, well, we're seeing an unwinding of hedge fund strategies. There's a thing called a basis trade, basically where funds are being forced to sell bonds to repay loans. So we're starting to see a little bit of this stuff going on. This selling pressure, of course, is driving up those yields. So if you like your dividends on your bond funds, this is a good time for that. This is definitely a really good time for that. So what can we do? What can we do? Bonds are acting weird, and I've never been a huge fan of bonds. I know some people are. I know some people are, but bonds have just never been something big on my side. Bleak is in the house, and we got a hey all. All right. Oh, you guys are not that active today. Fantastic. Let's jump into the next story. I'm all for getting through the news sooner than later. All right. Well, I said that we had some nuclear stories, and yeah, we got one nuclear story, of course. I've been talking about small modular reactors and the fact that we want to set some more of those up in Ontario. Well, Canada's nuclear regulatory agency, they gave Ontario Power Generation, they gave them the all clear to begin construction of a small modular reactor. So they're called SMRs, if you see that around. So this one's going to be built at the Darlington Nuclear Site in Clarington, Ontario. And this will be the first brand new nuclear reactor that's been built since the mid 1980s. So this is pretty cool. Now, plans for this reactor, they've been in place since about 2006, so definitely for a while. But it wasn't until basically 2021, back in the pandemic, that they had announced that they were going to go with an SMR, so the small modular reactor. Now, these are typically, well, they're basically they're faster to build. You can build them fast. They generate some nice clean energy at a lower cost, and that also does mean that they generate a little bit less energy. So they're really good for smaller areas. But here's the thing that's also good about them: you can move them. If you build an SMR, you don't have to keep it where you build it. So they are transportable. So you can, if you need energy somewhere else, you can always move one of these things. That's kind of cool. Now, this is going to be the first reactor of its kind in the G7, and it's going to demonstrate to other Western jurisdictions that are, of course, interested in SMRs whether the technology lives up to all of the hype. I have a feeling it's going to. Now, currently, Ontario up first, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and New Brunswick. They're also hoping to get some SMRs of their own. Now, OPG, they do plan to have that reactor up and running by 2029. There's still there's a couple more hoops that they do have to jump through, including a final authorization for operations. And in addition to that, they're also planning to build 3 more SMRs at the site, and each of those will, of course, need to get their own approval. All that fun stuff. Holy banana bread. Larry says, I don't think Canada has earthquakes, so nuclear sounds like a good idea. Um, we have little earthquakes, but if you go to the West Coast, like Vancouver, basically British Columbia, well, they're expecting the big one as well. They're kind of in that same thing as, I don't want to say, I'd say that California has it worse because they have a lot more plates. They have a lot more there. But yeah, no, there is definitely earthquakes on the West Coast. And there is, there's always fear of the big one, which will, someday hit Vancouver. But I think actually, the worst thing is that if we had the big one hitting Vancouver, Richmond would be in trouble because the soil it's built on is prone to liquefaction. So basically means it would almost, the ground in Richmond would almost become liquid and the buildings would sink into it. But hopefully it doesn't happen. Well, actually, the way things are going, it's probably going to happen this year. But I'm hoping. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. So we'll see. Phyllis says, is there a version of NVDX 2X bulls and SOXL 2X bull on the TSX? That's a good question, Phyllis. That's a good question. I know there are some bulls on there. Well, you know what? Here, let's pull up. I'm just going to type in bull NVIDIA. See if I get anything here. Now, I know Beta Pro has like a whole bunch. Bull 2X. Let's see here. Let's see. Here is the Beta Pro 2X bull on financials. The S&P Gold, NASDAQ 2X, Canadian REIT, Beta Pro Silver. I have to do a bit more research into Beta Pro. I haven't looked, haven't actually gone to their site to see if they have any new ones in there. So I'll have to do that, Phyllis. I probably should I probably want to do this sooner than later. But yeah, Beta Pro is, of course, and I think Beta Pro is owned by, I believe, Global X. So they do have, like I said, they have quite a bit of them, but whether they have, well, actually, you know what? Let me just see. Let me see. Maybe this is a fast find here. Let's go. Let's bring up Google. Beta Pro. There we go. Well, somebody has actually searched it before. All right, let's pull up the Beta Pros and see what we got. I accept. All right. Command the market. Oh, I like that picture. All right, let's see here. Price movers. What is that? NRGO. All right. I'm not sure which one that one is, but let's see here. I thought they had a list. They used to actually have this list of them right there. Let me just take a look here. Let's see, biggest beta pro, about beta pro, our funds. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking for. All right, so let's see here. NASDAQ 2X, natural gas. Let's see, Daily Bull, Canadian Bitcoin, crude oil, silver, NASDAQ, natural gas. S&P 500, bear. Let's see, cap financials. I'm just sort of going through here. Daily Bull, daily inverse, capped energy. Short-term futures, miners, inverse Bitcoin, financials, Canadian Bank, Canadian REIT. Oh boy, yeah, no, it doesn't look. At least Beta Pro doesn't. But at the same time, usually if Nvidia is doing really good, so is the Nasdaq. To be honest, so the 2x bull on the Nasdaq might be something you can play, but guys, I just want to say, when you're dealing with some of these, be careful. Be careful because I'm just not. What's the word? I don't want to say I'm afraid of them. I'm afraid of the power that they can have. Like for example, when everything went green because of Trump's tweet the other day, his truth. If you had been playing an inverse, let's say you've been playing an inverse S&P 500 or even TSX, and then that giant green spike happened, oh boy, that wouldn't have been good. Well, let's take a look. Let me just grab one here. Here we go. Daily inverse right here, SPXI. So let's come over here. SPXI, here we go. There we go. So this is an inverse. So basically, when the S&P goes up, this goes down. And I'm just going to pull, there's the 5-day. So I'm going to assume, look at this big dump right here. That is probably, well, wait a minute. That's 11 a.m. Let's see here. April 9th. So yeah, that would have been Wednesday. So here it is. Yeah. This is what would have happened. The market's tanking. You're making money. You're all happy. You turned around to make a tea and out came the truth and bang. All of a sudden you went from $13, 13 and a bit a share, right down to 11. So that would have hurt. So that's why you got to be kind of careful with these. Now, mind you, here's the thing. Let's say you were that unfortunate person that this happened to. Well, the market did tank a little bit on Thursday, so you could have earned some of it back. But that's where you kind of have to look. Like with something like this, you're going to say, okay, well, I know it's going to tank again. You might have to have some patience. And this is where you have to ask yourself a tough question. Your tough question is, do you have faith that that we're going to have rougher days ahead, so that way you can get your money back, or at the same time, and not just that, can you sort of let that money sit there and wait it out? And do you got the nerves of steel? Because it's tough to lose that amount of money that fast. You'd be like, anyway, that's kind of one of the reasons I'm very, very, very careful. Normally it's like I might jump on like HOD, which is the inverse oil one, when I know things are just not great for oil. Things are just, well, basically, but then again, keep in mind, even with oil, oil can be having a horrible week and you're making a ton of money on HOD, and all it takes is some geopolitical event to pop up out of nowhere. And oh boy, at that point, oil's then going to change direction. It's not going to be great. All right. Rory is in the house with an afternoon, folks. Patricia is taking a wall, or I think she means walk. Taking a walk while listening. There we go. Jonathan said, I used to run a website that sold emergency preparedness kits. BC had a small earthquake a number of years ago, and the site exploded with sales. Yeah, and that's all it takes, right? Just give yourself one little earthquake, as long as they can feel it, and then all of a sudden people are starting to think again. Uh-oh. And keep in mind, BC also, like if you live on the island or if you live in Vancouver, you get a big enough earthquake out offshore, and then there's also the tsunami, issues. You could have an issue with a tsunami. So there's a lot of things. Now there is, I think is it called a mega thrust cascade quake? So there's this giant quake that they fear that basically would be like almost like an unzipping of the North American plate, and it would basically start up around Vancouver Island, and this would go all the way down to like California. If this ever happened, and I hope it never does, it would be catastrophic for BC, Washington, Oregon, California. It would not be a good day. It would not be a good day for sure. All right, Larry says, let's see, XOXL went from $35 down to like $9. NVDX $20 down to $5. It's almost as bad as options if you're wrong. Yeah, and that's exactly kind of what I was sort of saying. You got to be careful with them. You got to be careful. And I like to say that I wouldn't put my life savings on an inverse or any kind of a 2x fund. It could be devastating. Yeah, those drops were in a week. Rory says, I looked at options for the longest time. I just cannot do them. Sticking to equities, good enough for me. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with it. You don't have to do options. But that's the thing. You can do options without doing options. That's, investing in covered call funds. They're doing the options for you, and you are paying a little bit more of a management fee for that as well. But for most people, I think that's probably good enough. Jordan says, my fear is the Niagara escarpment letting go someday from Wisconsin to Niagara and south of the USA. It would be a disaster of epic proportions. Yeah, there's a lot of really big things that could absolutely cause some absolute chaos. There is a giant earthquake potential. It builds up in the middle of the U.S. So we're talking like St. Louis, the Mississippi. And I think the last time it went was before the 19th century type thing, a long time ago. But when this, and I'm trying to remember what they call it. Was it the Madrid fault, the mid-Madrid or something fault? But the last time it went, it caused the water in the Mississippi to flow backwards, to flow up instead of down. If that were to happen again today, oh boy. The heartland of the United States would not have a good day. But yeah, places like St. Louis would be absolutely devastated. And of course, of course, yeah, there you go. You get Yellowstone. Yeah, that would be a bad day. There we go. Let me just say, yeah, Rory, Yellowstone going off would be a very bad day for, well, the world. And pretty much any super volcano. Like I think the last one that went off during human time was it Toba or something like that? But it caused a bottleneck in the population of I think it wiped almost all people off the planet down to about 1,000 or something crazy like that. But yeah, we don't want to see any of that happening. Let me just say, it'll be worse than a red market, that's for sure. A Ferris is in the house with a hello. Is China selling U.S. bonds? No. It's a lot of the institutions. So it's not China. It's not China. China right now, a lot of people have speculated saying, oh, that's probably what's going on. China's selling the bonds. It's tanking them. But right now, China's trying to maintain their economy. If anything, they've been propping up their economy the best that they can in all of this turmoil. So that's not a move that I think they would make. Not now. Not to say they won't do it someday, but I don't see them doing that at all right now. So just something to keep in mind. All right. Oh, we're slowly getting through the news. We're slowly getting through the news. Of course, we have we've got an election going on. Here's my kind of a Pierre Polyev politician beaver. So, uh, doing what I can, but yeah, we got as I said, we got an election going on. We're gonna just there's I haven't really found any good promises this week, at least investing promises. And like last week, we had all of that stuff coming out of the Polyev camp about the TFSA and the RRSP. Definitely good stuff there, and capital gains, of course. But this week, it's been much of the same. There hasn't been a lot. One big shift that I have noticed this week is that Jagmeet is pretty much no longer saying, I'm running for prime minister. He's more or less now saying, look, the Liberals have enough in the polls. You can bring some of the votes back to the NDP. Is that working? Well, let's find out. Let's find out. We'll head over to the poll tracker to see the trend right now. We still got the Liberals up there at the top with 44.1. Now the Conservatives, they are picking up a little bit. They got a point. Well, it's only 0.5, but at least they're moving in the right direction. And it looks like the NDP is sinking a little bit. But if we look here, the NDP have, at one point, they were down to a projection of 3 seats. So that's picked up a little bit. But once again, guys, I don't like to listen too much to these numbers because polls can be wrong. Although I will say, I actually got polled in the last week. I got polled. So I was like, oh, I've never been polled before by one of these poll people. But the thing I like about polls is this part right here, because to me it doesn't matter where these numbers are, because on election day it can fall, but it gives me an idea of what is working right now. So as you can see, the Liberals, they've had a lot of momentum, but they've kind of leveled out. Now the Conservatives, look at this little beep at the back. They're starting to make their message is starting to click on a little bit, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing. So we're getting a little bit of a recovery there, and you can see a little bit like the bleeding seems to have stopped for the NDP. The Bloc still, yeah, but it gives you an idea of the trends, and that's the part that I do like. Now, I will point out, for the Conservatives to win, one of the things they really need to see happen is they need to see a reversal of, they need to see the Bloc. They need to see the Bloc starting to step up in Quebec, because that's one of those keys for the Liberals to win. They need to pick up a good amount of seats in Quebec. And right now they're leading. Right now the polls are showing them ahead, and there seems to be instead of a more Quebec nationalism, there's kind of a Canadian nationalism that's been brewing in Quebec. So we have 2 weeks left. What the Conservatives need to do, first of all, is they need Trump to step back a little bit. Keep him out of the news. Let the message, or let the whole fear, because right now the number one fear Canadians have, of course, is Trump. Let that lessen a little bit. Have people start focusing on some of those secondary topics, because they're hitting well on those topics. Now, is this going to happen naturally? Probably not. Where they're going to have to do it, and believe it or not, this is where it's all coming down. We have the debates coming up this week. So that, and we do know that Pierre is really, really good at debating. So that's where he really needs to pick things up. So let's it's going to be fun. I'm going to watch the English debate. I'll of course read I'll read up on everything that happens in the French debate, but this is where things I think are going to really be decided. And it will be interesting when we look at this next week. It'll be interesting to see. if this trend has if this trend is broken, to see if this the strength in the liberals, has it broken? Has it broken? Well, we're gonna find out. We're gonna find out. Um, but yeah, so that is that's all I really got to say about politics this week. Of course, if you guys got things you want to say, feel free to hit them up in the comments. Um, A says, let's see, do you see any further downside for USD? I am looking to see the best time to change USD to CAD. Um, that's a really good question. That's a really good question. Um, I I think as the tariffs get a little bit deeper, a little bit stronger, unless we get some kind of a resolution, it is going to impact the Canadian dollar more than the US dollar right now. So I do think that the opportunity, like I would say, I think now this is my opinion. This is my opinion, but I think the best time to switch USD to CAD is still to come. So I definitely think unless if you're looking, if you're really desperate to get it switched over, then you're kind of in a little bit of an area where I wouldn't even say right now because the U.S. Yeah, I think you might want to wait. I really think you might want to wait if you can, because the Canadian dollar, as the actual effects to the tariffs start hitting on our economy, that is going to pull that Canadian dollar down pretty big. And I think the U.S. just has much. They have a much bigger moat than Canada. So for that reason, even though the tariffs are going to impact the U.S. as well, they're not going to fall as fast as Canada does. So I think you're going to have better opportunities. Probably I would even say towards the end of the year you'll probably really have some good opportunities, but definitely pay attention. If you see something that happens, then yeah, maybe jump the gun, but I would wait personally. Phyllis says, thank you, Candace. Thanks for the warning, Larry. There we go. What do you think about crypto bull given US tariff in 3 months? um It's interesting. A lot of people right now are actually thinking that crypto is going to have a very strong week this week. Um, I've heard that. I haven't had a chance to really look too much into it, but I mean, if we look right now, let's just let's just head over and we can see right now. Okay, well they're all right. They're down a little bit today. They're down a little bit today, but uh, Bitcoin has gotten itself back above 80K, which is good, and well, there's a good chance. There's a good chance. Like we do have, like, this is interesting here. Like, let's just take a gander here. Let's grab. There we go. We're going to grab one of these. We'll pull this over here. All right, all right, I'm going to grab myself a second one. I'm going to come in about here. Yeah, so we do have a little bit of I can see a little bit of pattern. At least this is on the 1 hour. So I'll back out and look at a longer time scale. But this does show to me that we should get a break either to the upside or the downside by tomorrow. I am thinking, and just to give you a general idea here, there we go. I have a feeling it will go to the upside. So if it were to break tomorrow, you're looking at getting, potentially up as high as 80, 86, 87. So yeah, I think Bitcoin's going to have a good week. And of course, if Bitcoin has a good week, usually, I think Ethereum will do well as well. So I think we'll have a good week. All right. We're getting through the news fast. This is odd. Last week we didn't even get to the first story until an hour in. So, all right. Well, our next little weekly segment is it's kind of interesting. ChatGPT updated its image thing, and I don't like it. I don't like the new image thing. So this week I went with all of its images, and I'm trying to teach it to make beavers again. And honestly, for the first while, I was thinking these are looking like bears. They're looking like bears, but I went with it. I'm going with it this week. Oh boy. So yeah, the trade wars. So an interesting couple thing going on with trade wars. One is a lot of Canadian companies. They're looking to get their exports CUSMA compliant. So that's Canada, U.S., Mexico agreement, the free trade agreement. So they basically right now, any products that are CUSMA compliant, well, they're getting exemptions from tariffs. So that's why companies are looking to do it. Now, to do this, basically what they have to do to get their products up to code is, well, basically it has to do with country of origin. And that means that for them to be CUSMA compliant, they need to have 50 to 75% North American materials, depending on the item, as listed as the makeup of that item. So there are some, of course, there are some exceptions for materials that are made from raw materials that come out of North America, but then they get transformed here. So, if you take a raw material, you change it into something else, that does tend to have a little bit of an exemption, but it's really, really interesting. So, fewer than 40% of Canadian goods that were sent to the States last year were basically were certified. So, not that many. So the beautiful thing is, it won't take much for a lot of items. So they might have to source some things slightly differently, but a lot of companies are like, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's get these things, let's make them compliant, and we'll avoid the tariffs that way. And that's kind of a big thing. So it is, it's happening. It's happening. Now, also on our trade war front, those lumber duties, I mentioned them. I think I mentioned them last week, but the White House is planning to double them. Basically, well, more than double. Basically, the existing duty rate now on Canadian lumber is 14.4%. They're taking it up to 34.45%. And that's, well, it's not all lumber. It's Canadian software lumber. And that levy, of course, is going to be, once they're doing a lot of review as well of lumber. So there could be tariffs as well coming in addition to the duty. And they would stack. They would stack, unfortunately. And Trump has been insisting that the U.S. does not need Canadian lumber, which is, it's funny. There was something I heard. Now, I don't know where the source came from, but I heard that there was a couple of lumber factories, I guess, or mills that they're like, yeah, we don't have the ability to cut the wood the way that we need it. We've always just gotten that from Canada. So perhaps his thoughts that he doesn't need Canadian lumber might be a little bit off as well. So yeah, apparently 30% of software lumber consumed in the U.S. is imported, and Canada makes up 80% of those imports. So definitely big time. Builders in the U.S. have estimated that tariffs on lumber and other critical home building materials could raise the average price of a home in the United States by $9,200. Holy banana bread! And finally, on our war with our trade war with the United States, GM is going to be laying off. Well, first of all, they're going to be temporarily halting production, and then they're laying off 500 employees out of their 1,200 employees at Ingersoll, Ontario. Now, this plant makes Chevrolet Bright Drop electric delivery vans. So there's just not a big demand for them. That's part of what's going on. That also tariffs. Now, they will be opening up again very briefly. They're doing a limited production run in May. But then after that, they're shutting their doors until October. And by the time everybody comes back, 500 of them are not coming back. So, yeah, not good, not good. I do have some good news, I guess, for auto workers, but we're gonna wait. That's another story, another story. So we'll definitely jump. We'll jump on that. We'll jump on that momentarily. All right. We got Mark in the house. Let's see. I think conservatives picked up because Mr. Wonderful O'Leary is getting a lot of airtime and trash talking the liberals. Yes, Mr. I mean, Kevin O'Leary is a guy who has he has a lot of opinions on a lot of stuff, and he definitely makes the rounds for sure. If you guys remember, he was actually one of the names that was floated for the leader of the conservatives. Well, quite a ways ago, quite a ways, back. But oh boy, Paul is in the house with a good afternoon. And Nine says, I would really like to get the TFSA top up. That will boost my TFSA income by a good amount each year. There we go. There we go. I know that Nine has said that top off has earned a vote. So what can we say? Paul says all the federal money given to battery companies has failed. Those companies took the money, but not finishing anything. Net zero is a scam. And Paul said GM said it wasn't tariffs, but low demand for EVs. Okay, interesting. Now, I have I saw an article. I was watching it on the news on one of the U.S. news shows, and they were talking about Uber and some of the unusual things that Uber people have left behind in Ubers in the States. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, that's interesting. I wonder about Canada though. So I found out. I found out, and first of all, let's talk before we get to the unusual stuff. Let's talk about the most common stuff that's forgotten in an Uber. So I got the top 10 here for you guys. We haven't done a list in a while. So the 10th most common thing people forget in an Uber is a water bottle. So Uber finds a lot of water bottles. The next thing are vapes or e-cigarettes. Number 8, passports. Oh God, can you imagine if you left your passport in an Uber? People have left clothing. They've left glasses. And number 5, headphones. Keys at number 4. Number 3, a backpack or luggage. That's, I guess, maybe if you throw it in the trunk and then forget about it once you got to your destination. Wallet and a purse come in at number 2. And the most common thing left in an Uber in Canada is a phone. So your phone or your camera. Boy. But here's the thing. Here is the thing. There are some really strange things that they have found in Ubers. So I got the 10 weirdest things that they have found that people have forgotten in their Uber. Number 10 is a euphonium. Apparently, it's a big instrument that's similar to a tuba, but somebody in Vancouver left a euphonium in a How can you forget something that big? In Toronto, at number 9, oh boy, somebody left a cat urine sample in an Uber. What's going on with that? Number 8, an Uber driver in in Toronto found some gold teeth. I guess that was the tip, maybe. I don't know. Number 7, a rock from Japan was found in a Vancouver Uber. In Ottawa. So here in my city, at number 6, a fuchsia pink cane. No idea. Now this one gets me. All right, number 5. I'm just laughing thinking about it. Somebody left their grandparents in an Uber. like what? Apparently, Uber did not explain anything about it, but they said that was the 5th strangest thing. Someone forgot their grandparents in the Uber. So I don't know. That was in Vancouver. Of course, it's Vancouver. Number 4. I don't even know how you fit this in an Uber, but someone left a piano in an Uber in Toronto. Number 3. No boy. A stuffed sloth was left in an Uber in Edmonton. Like, what the heck? Who stuffs a sloth? I don't know. Number two, and then we're back to Ottawa again. A physics test. Somebody left a physics test in an Uber. And number one, and I still think the grandparents should have been number one. But number one in Toronto, somebody left a snare drum in an Uber. So these are the Canadian ones. A few of them, like a cat urine sample. Why? Why? I don't know. Anyway, that those are the things. Those are the things that were left in an Uber. Paul says, yes, the chat GBT images put a weird look on the image. I know. It's like I might have to retire the beavers and just, go back to real, real people images or something. If they're going to look like, I just, it bugs me. It annoys me. I liked, like, the images that they used to make were perfect, were absolutely perfect. So I don't know. Larry says, I'm addicted to my phone. I'd freak out if I left it in. Yeah. That would be, yeah. For me, the number one thing I would probably lose in an Uber, my umbrella. My umbrella. I am very good. I've lost umbrellas. Um, I've lost a lot of umbrellas over the years, but that's probably the most likely thing I would lose. Uh, yeah, I would be absolutely. I would not be happy if I lost my phone though. That's for sure. All right. Once again, yeah. I got to do something about the images now. But Weight Watchers, we got a Weight Watchers story. Weight Watchers, so www.o, they have they've got a new struggle on the horizon. In fact, um, it may be their final struggle. So they've been hurt. They've been hurting big time thanks to GLP-1. So that's that drug that's used in Ozempic and other weight loss medications. So people are like, why am I going to give a monthly fee to Weight Watchers when I can just go get this drug and lose weight? There we go. Now they are so Weight Watchers is currently planning to file for bankruptcy within the next coming months. And it's basically part of their plan to hand control of the business over to their creditors. And of course, when news of this broke this week, well, let's take a look and see what happened. All right, www.o, is that what it is? Here we are. Weight Watchers. Yeah, here it is. Guys, this is where things have gotten bad. And you can see their stock lost a lot of weight. So obviously it works, right? But yeah, no, they had a big, they dropped, their price dropped by more than 59%. Now, here's the thing. Let's back out just to show you how bad things have been for Weight Watchers. Look at this. They were at one point worth more than $100. Now, mind you, that was probably no, that was actually even before the pandemic. So something happened that pumped them up really big time back in 2018. But yeah, they've been suffering. They have absolutely been suffering. Here is a company that I feel bad for anybody who bought up here and they're now waiting. They're sitting here saying, okay, I'm going to wait. It'll come back someday. No. This is a dead company now. A dead company for sure. What can I say? Let's see. Can you tell ChatGPT that it needs to do the old style? Have it look at one of the old images. Yeah, I'm going to try a few different things, Paul. See if I can teach it. Like I had to explain to ChatGPT. Going back to this, I had to explain that. Okay, beavers have, buck teeth, and then it went crazy. It went crazy with the buck teeth. So I'm like, oh my god. But at least one thing, and we'll just pull up here. This is the next picture. Yeah, they're bad. They're really bad. I mean, let's go like this here. This is the old ones. The ones that were great, the ones that were cute, the ones I liked. And now this is their new version. So yeah, I have to, I got some teaching to do. I got some teaching to do. But nonetheless, this is our second nuclear story. So Atkins Realis Group, of course, they're one of the largest employers in Canada's nuclear industry, and they're looking to recruit auto workers. Basically, they're saying, look, the auto workers, their jobs are at risk because of the trade war. We can use them. Come on, you work on cars. If you can work on a car, you can work on a reactor. That's kind of what they're saying. Now, according to Atkins, they're saying that auto sector engineers, electrical, mechanical, structural, and civil, could easily join the nuclear industry with a pretty much minimal retraining, because apparently their skill sets not that far off. They also say assembly line workers could fit well with the companies that manufacture some of their nuclear components as well. And also, many of the tradespeople could work on nuclear construction projects in Canada. And according to estimates from Statistics Canada, we're looking at about 125,000 people directly employed in manufacturing vehicles and parts. And if a lot of them lose their jobs because of the trade war, Atkins and they're ready to jump in. They're ready to jump in and say, "Hey, come get some jobs." They said that their industry could actually absorb many skilled workers and then some. The Canadian Nuclear Association estimates its sector currently employs about 89,000 people, and they're feeling they can take a lot of them. So that could be good news. That could be good news for people who are losing jobs. They said they have more than enough business working on existing reactors, and they've got a whole bunch of new ones that are going to be built, as we mentioned in an earlier story. So that's pretty cool. Bruce Power Plant, for example, they're planning on adding 4 new reactors, which, once approved, they're going to be some of the world's biggest nuclear projects. So they got a need, they've got the jobs, and it could be a good thing for expiring mechanics or car people or electrical engineers, things like that. So yeah, there's definitely stuff there that they can do. So I thought that was kind of interesting. It's like, yeah, we have one sector to another sector. So why not? Why not? Now, that's the news. But before we get rid of all of the news stuff, coming up in Canada next week, we have our CPI coming out on Tuesday and Wednesday. Wednesday's the Bank of Canada rate decision. Right now, most people are thinking we're going to get another 25 basis point cut. So we'll have to see. I have a feeling that could happen. That could very well happen. In the United States, not a lot coming up this week. They do have some retail sales data that's going to be dropping on Wednesday. Earnings-wise, pretty much the big one in Canada is going to be Metro. Metro is going to drop their earnings this week coming up. Down in the U.S., we got J.P. Morgan and Wells Fargo dropping earnings. So not a big earnings week, but what can I say? All right, that's the news. It's done. Paul says Oprah Winfrey was part of Weight Watchers. Okay, there we go. Yeah. So yeah, we have to sort of see. Well, I don't think there's any chance now. And here's the thing: when you look at things like Ozempic in Canada, and I mentioned this before, we're in a situation where we might get approval within the next year for a generic version. That will be huge as well, and that'll hurt. That'll definitely hurt Weight Watchers. I mean, a lot of people are like, I don't know. A lot of people just, if you can just take a shot and lose weight, a lot of people are like, okay, let's do that. Let's do that. I don't know. I thought about it personally, but not gonna do it. Not gonna do it. I'm gonna, I've been working out like crazy myself, but I'm gonna do it the hard way. I'd rather do it the hard way personally. So Ozempic, not for me. Let's see. A says, what do you think about KMP or NWH REITs now during the recession? I think Northwest Health is offloading properties to reduce debt. Um, yeah, it's kind of an interesting situation. So normally, everything was setting up for a really, really good year for REITs. We had interest rates coming down, and REITs love that. REITs love it. Just well, so do well. Kind of interesting thing is too. I think utilities have been taking a lot of their thunder, but now that we've got the trade war, and you know, depending on the REITs, like I think REITs will have a good year. I just don't think they're going to have as the massive year that I had been hoping for. But I still think they're going to have a good year. Like I'm not dropping any of my REITs. I'm gonna hold. I'm gonna hold through the year for them. And I'm keeping my RMAX. If you guys, we have not been to RMAX in a while. But yeah, I am keeping RMAX. So RMAX is the Hamilton REITs Yield Maximizer. And I'll pull up the 1 year, and you can sort of see it's yeah, well, yeah, they've had another bit of a setback with the economy this time around, but they were doing okay. They were doing now. I also don't know when is their ex-dividend date. Towards the end of the month, so that wouldn't have impacted it. But yeah, they've been having some fun. They've been having some fun. I haven't lost faith. I haven't lost faith yet, but at least I'm getting dividends from them for the moment. Ah, boy. Yeah, I didn't see this big jump. I'm like, but I still like them. And those pictures look like Bernstein, the Bernstein beers. That's exactly what I thought of that the other day. I thought of that for sure. Let's see if Homer Simpson can work on nuclear reactor, then anyone can. Sector 7G is a stain on SMR operations. All right. And Michael says, hello, Candace. If time permits, can I get your brief analysis of Mint apartment rate? Minto. Yes. Let's pull Minto up here. All right. Oh, look at their recovery. They had a good day. They had a good day on Wednesday. All right. Yeah, and you can sort of see this is kind of the pattern. This is where things were looking great. Then the fall came and everything went to hell in a handbasket, I think is the actual term. Yeah, not good, not good. I think REITs have definitely been suffering a little bit. They'll be fine through, on the other side of all this, they're going to be fine. I just don't know if we're going to get that goodness that I've been talking about. Like if things would have actually moved ahead the way things should have, if we didn't go into a trade war, things would have been a lot better. Because even real estate, the overall real estate sector is expected to be strong. It's expected to be strong this year, and it's hard to say how this is all going to sort of oil itself out. I would say if you're in the green and you're in REITs and you're like, you know what, I just want to move to something a bit more defensive, I would do it. I would probably do it. But if you're in the red, I probably wouldn't take a loss because they will be fine on the end. And especially once we get to a new normal, like right now, we're in a situation where you have to sort of realize what drives a market. So all of the down, all like the big dips that we saw earlier in the week, it's all fear. It's everybody being afraid. Investors being afraid. So it has attacked everything, and it doesn't matter whether you're recession proof or not. When it comes to fear, if people are afraid of everything, everything goes down. No ands, ifs, or buts about it. And that's what we've seen. Once we have the real effects of the tariffs, so the actual economy suffering from them, then those stocks that are recession proof, well, they're going to have that opportunity to shine. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting for sure. Oh, so good. All right. Cowboy says, greeting all. Hello, hello. Your Daman says, hey, Candace, hope you're having a nice Sunday. Could you give your thoughts on, let's see, Thera Technologies? They're supposed to be bought out. Okay, okay. I haven't heard about this. I haven't. So I'm coming in blind on this one. Let's see, Thera. You might have to give me a ticker. No, no, here it is. TH. Let's take a look here. Oh, look at that. That's not a bad jump. All right. Yeah, interesting. Interesting move right here. So I think that might be a sell the, buy the rumor, sell the news type thing. Let's see, annual shareholding announcements. Uh, and I don't really have a lot of data on them because they're one of these stocks that's really, really below my radar because, they're not technically a penny stock, but they're penny adjacent. They're penny adjacent. Um, if they're going to be bought out, I of course would look at the terms. The problem is this may have been that the rumor right there, right there. That may be the best you're going to get. It may be. I don't know. I would have to sort of know a little bit more about them. And that I don't. I don't have, and this is not really giving me a lot of data. I have a feeling the back end is going to be return on assets negative. Yeah. So yeah, the company's not doing that well. So if anything, you're buying that rumor. It's a buy the rumor, sell the news situation. I'm not seeing anything in here to be excited about, but that's fine. All right. New Andy says, need advice, Candace. Bought COCP and weed. Uh-oh. During the pandemic and forgot to sell. Now they are down about 98%. Oh boy. So you put in about 3K. I am wondering whether to sell or hold on. Sadly, in the TFSA. Yeah. That's one of these things. Like, let's go to weed. All right. So, oh boy, yeah, weed, and I'm gonna pull up. We'll pull up the 10-year. We'll pull up the 10-year. All right. So this is an interesting one. So in the pandemic, people were a little bit excited. People have been excited about weed. A lot of people thought that when marijuana was legalized in Canada, that stocks like this were going to be pure gold, pure gold. Well, it didn't turn out that way. Now, I know after the pandemic, um, there were some YouTubers that were promoting weed. That's fine. That's fine. But problem is, nothing really happened until there was this one pump here, and what ended up happening is, and was this the one? When was it? Two? Yeah, it was about here. Um, Wall Street Bets got in on weed, and they did this whole big pump for it, and it exploded. It exploded in price, and it was up and down, up and down. Now, I will admit, I bought a small position in here, thinking, okay, well, maybe it's worth trying. I happened to be online the day that it pumped, so I sold. I sold, and I did make I made a small profit on it, but I think a lot of people have not, and a lot of people are now down, down in the dumps when it comes to weed. And honestly, I have not seen any signs that it's going to get any better than it is right now. So it really boils down to, you know, maybe maybe something will happen, but I just I have no faith in it at all. So you kind of have to sort of look. Like, sometimes sometimes it doesn't hurt. Like there are people who say I'll never sell in the red, but sometimes, sometimes, especially if the fundamentals are not there, and I think the fundamentals are not really here for this. So, if it were me, I probably would sell, but you got to make up your own mind, of course. You know, at least put it into something that's going to give you something back. Paul says, ooh, let's get back to Big Me. The 5-year Bank of Canada bond needs to come down for 5-year fixed mortgage rates. Interesting. Maybe. Yeah, we found that. Let's see. Is it a great poem by Kipling, but the stupid things the government done over the past 10 years is our reality to deal with? Yeah, yeah. Someday, someday, yeah. I always, I always have hope that we'll get smart politicians eventually. Um, and I don't know, it just never happens. It's one of the reasons, like you take somebody like Doug Ford. So Doug Ford, the leader of the Conservatives in Ontario, because he is kind of that down to earth, every everybody has an uncle like him type person. He gets away with a lot, but it's interesting. Actually, it's funny. I had a thought yesterday, and I was thinking that if the polls are right and the conservatives lose big time, and the liberals get another majority, the I could see down the road, I could see the conservatives maybe looking at somebody like Doug Ford and saying, "Huh, maybe we need Doug Ford." It's hard to say what'll happen. I mean, we still got 2 weeks, and we got the debate, so all of that fun stuff. Where does everybody think gold will go this week? Into Tuesday's video. That's where. Actually, yes, Tuesday's video is about gold. I am. I've pulled together some really good gold companies that I think are going to do really well through all of this turmoil. So gold, and here's the thing: if and that's the video, that's fine. If this week, let's just look at the week coming up. If nothing bad happens, and if Trump sort of leaves things be, and we end up with a green week, we'll probably see gold come down a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit. But it really comes down to fear. I think the more chaos we have, the more people will flock into gold, and that will definitely push it up. Like most banks are expecting gold to be at all-time highs pretty much through most of this year. And I think the number I heard as an estimate for a year end was around 3,300 an ounce. So it's I'm actually pretty stoked on gold, and I'll tell you, this video that I have coming out on Tuesday, when I was doing the research for it and I was pulling up these gold companies and looking at some of them, I was like gobsmacked at some of the profits that have already dropped, and we're just getting into the turmoil. I'm like, holy banana bread. So definitely something you guys want to check that out on Tuesday. If you're a channel member, you can watch it. You can watch it tomorrow because I'm going to film it in the morning, get it all edited, and it'll be out later in the afternoon tomorrow. Cowboy says Doug is backing Carnage. How would that get him into federal conservatives leadership? I don't think he's actually backing him. I think what he's doing is he's kind of distancing himself from the whole thing. And you can argue that by not really endorsing Polyev, he's more or less just, it's almost like an endorsement for the liberals, but he hasn't really endorsed the liberals. He has said, I've worked with him, I've talked with him, I can work with him. That's pretty much to the extent of what he has said. But no, I mean, Doug Ford is not, technically, he's not backing anybody. So I'm just saying it's that he has, and this is kind of where I'm going, Cowboy. As a conservative, he has managed to connect with people really big time. And, and if the Conservatives crash and burn in the election, one of the questions that'll come up is Pierre the right person? Maybe Pierre wasn't, maybe he wasn't likable enough. That's questions that'll come up. And, if they're looking for people, if they're looking for a new leader, that might be somebody that they might say, well, this guy just keeps on doing it. Not to say, and it's not, I have a feeling that Ford may not even want to move to federal anyway. So it's just, it was a thought though. That's all it was, simply a thought. So, but we still have 2 weeks of an election, and quite literally, um, you know, Pierre can do a lot of good for the Conservatives in the debates coming up. He has to, he's good at debates, but he wants to also, and I guess this is kind of that thing. Like I'm a good debater, but if I was going to go into a debate of this nature, I would still, I wouldn't want to overestimate my own abilities. So you definitely go in there with everything. Bring everything. Be prepared, like as much as possible, because I'll tell you, when you have somebody coming in like Carney, who is not as strong as a debater as, let's say, Polyev. Carney is doing practice debates. He is getting himself ready. So yeah, bring it all in. Now, the the other thing, and it's interesting too. I actually watched a video about the crowd sizes, because I know you guys bring it up a lot of times. And it's actually funny. Polyev says, "Oh, I had 15,000 people here," and Carney says, "Oh, I've had 1,500 or 2,000 or something like that, or whatever." But they did some fact checking, and both of them were way off. Both of them were way off. And there was like, I think the place that Polyev said he had 15,000 couldn't actually hold. They didn't even have the capacity to hold that number of people. But and it's the same thing. Both of them were off by about the same amount, though. So that's kind of the interesting thing. So anyway, I personally, and this is kind of going back to one of the issues right now that the Conservatives have, is that the Liberals are saying, look, he's just like Trump. Well, don't focus on this crowd sizes, Polyev, Pierre. Please don't, because that is only making that argument for them. So I'm hoping that we don't hear any more about these crowd sizes, but who knows? Who knows? All right, let's see here. Gobsmacked. Yes, I know. It's a good word. It's a good word. Rory says if Carney stops the ums and ahs, he might have a chance. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. You would think at that level, and I just did an right there, but you would think, it's actually funny. It's actually funny. With my videos, this is kind of a little tangent, but I used to go through, and if I did an or an ah, I used to actually edit those out. But in I'd say the last few months, I've stopped editing the ahs, and I don't really have any ums, but I do have some ahs, and I was just like, let's leave it there. It sounds more personable. So I've been leaving those in. Yeah, no, I agree. I agree 100%. Let's see. If the Liberals get another term, thank the China Interference Committee and say goodbye to Alberta for sure. Let's see. I was at the Polyev rally in Windsor on Friday night. How was that? How was that? I've never been to a political rally. So, let's see. Sterling says gold, silver, and copper going to the moon this week again. Trump's already posting more drama on Truth Social. Oh, is he really? I have no clue what he's posting. I haven't looked at anything this weekend yet. Let's see. Cool working. The plebe was there. Checkmate Sing rally is a tiny room of 100. I can believe that. Ah, boy. Sandy says, "Hi there. What kind of bonds can I buy on the Canadian market to hide out for the next couple of years?" Um, well, I'll tell you. I'll tell you. Let me pull this up here. I'm perf. Is that it here? HY. Let's see. Um, HPYT. There we go. This is one that I did put it in a list video like about a week ago. So the Harvest Premium Yield Treasury ETF. Now it's it does go on to it is holding U.S. ones, but I think it is great. Now, mind you, it's still going down, but that's kind of where we are right now. Now, I do think bonds will probably turn around. Now, the nice thing about this is you are getting a crazy yield. You're getting like 19.438% on it. So it'll bring you some money in. And if bonds start behaving the way they should, we could see this turn around a little bit. But so far we haven't. So far we haven't. But I would probably look at a. I would look personally. I would look at an ETF opposed to going into an actual bond. And I am overdue to do a bond video. I really am. But I'm not a huge fan of bonds. But and I think Paul's in the same boat here. See, bonds can go down too. In the long run, equity does better. Yeah, generally. Um, yeah. Now, what I would be more interested in is something like if you go into like a cash ETF. So there's a whole bunch of different ones. Like there's cash, CASH. The one that I'm currently using, Tcash, TCSH. Let me just pull that up. Here we go. TC. So this is a new one, brand new one from TD Cash the TD Cash Management ETF. All right. Now I'm just going to I'll pull up the 3 months, and you can sort of see it works the same way. Like right now, $50 basically is its price, and then through the monthly cycle, it'll go up. It'll go like here. Look, it went up to $50.17. Then they pay out their dividend, and they're back to 50, and that just happens month after month. You can see it's the exact same pattern. What's nice about this though is you're getting a 4.54% dividend just for holding it. And it's not something like this is not a fund that's designed to be going up and down with the market per se. It does the same thing over and over again. Here we go. There's a year. Now it has only been around since this one, at least since February of 2024. So it's a little more than a year, but you can see it's just the exact same thing over and over again. And you're at least making some money on it. So it is something worth park. I like to use it for myself for my fixed income for sure. Okay, Lisa says there were a lot of people there for sure. 100 what? 100 fans of Jagmeet. I shook the plebes' hand. Nice. Jagmeet Singh is touring on a tour bus, no planes. What? And that's just the thing. I mean, I don't think the NDP have a lot of money to spend. So they're, if it were the summer, he might be on a bicycle going from community to community. They don't have a lot of money. Let's see. I made the stream for a brief moment. Yes, it was a brief moment in time. Yeah, I like it. Rory says, that's amazing how popular the plebe has become. A Bond. James Bond. There we go. Hi, Paul. I have equities and lots of bond proxy defensive stocks. Just a little stumped as to whether I should also move into some bonds. There we go. And that's the whole thing. I mean, some people really love bonds. They really, really do. I kind of fall in the same camp as Paul does, where I think, yeah, I think you can do just as well outside of bonds. So that's kind of why I was talking about stuff like this. But now nine loves bonds. So some people do. Some people do. It works. They can work. And Yeah, I really need to do a bond video. I do. I did one like I think it's been 2 years. Let's see. Lisa says, Rory, everyone seemed to know who the plebe was. He climbed a ladder and panned the room, and the cloud went berserk. The T cash for money you need, say for next year. Yeah, exactly. Let's see. Is T cash really 4%? I thought cash is now about 2.5 yield now. Um, no, it's like unless they've changed it and it hasn't been updated yet. But as far as I know, it's still 4.54%. Let's see. Rory says I saw that. Candace, would you trade T cash or just not enough volume or price action? Um, no, I'm. It doesn't have like a huge volume, but keep in mind, people aren't just trading it back and forth. For me, I just sit in it. I will sit in it until I need it. And when am I going to start using it? Basically in the bear market. When we get into the bear market, when we're officially in a bear market, I will start cycling this back out and start buying some good deals, dollar cost averaging through those red months. So yeah, it is a good stuff. Now keep in mind there are others. Like I was before. I was using cash before. Here's another one. So cash. This is the global X one, and we pull it out. You can see it's the exact same thing, up and down, over and over. Now they have a 3.7%. So that's the reason I went to T-Cash. It was just a little bit more. So interesting. Paul says, would the USD T-bill ETF be a higher rate as the USA hasn't dropped rates yet? That's true. They do have higher rates in the US still. And it's funny, like Trump actually wants those rates to come down, but Powell is pretty much holding steady and saying, "Nope, I'm not listening. I don't work for Donald Trump." So it's going to be interesting. Once if Powell gives in and starts, or if they have to start pulling them down, yeah, I could see that. Is Tcash available on Wealth Simple? I don't know. I've been doing it on National Bank, but let's. I got Wealth Simple right over here. Give me a second. I'll find out for you. Two shakes of a lamb's tail. Unless somebody knows, if somebody knows, throw it in chat. While I log into Wealth Simple here. All right, it'll just be a moment as it loads up. Right now, I'm looking at a white screen. Come on, Wealth Simple. All right, it's starting to load. Uh-oh. Really? I don't see it. Or, okay. He's talking about a Carney versus Trump ad in the lower right corner. I think I missed it. All right. Come on, guys. Open up. There we go. All right. All right. Oops. Mm-mm-mm. All right. What do you think? Yeah. I am not sure. It's not working. I was just like, no, it won't take my fingerprint. Okay. I don't know what it is. Sometimes I have to, every so often, I do have to change my fingerprint stuff on my iPad because it just seems to forget my old fingerprint. Let's see, Cowboy. What do you think Telus will be doing for the next while? Seems like BCE will be at Telus pricing soon. Oh boy, yeah. Yeah, the telecommunications have absolutely been dogs so far this year. I'm not liking them, and I know, and it's funny. Normally, this environment, this type of an economic environment, normally it's not bad for the telecoms. But I do know they are still deploying their 5G rollout rural. They've got all the urban stuff done. So some of their money is being eaten up by that. But what's been interesting is I've noticed that on the days the market is completely red, they seem to be in the green. And then on the green days, they seem to be in the red. They're kind of doing the opposite. So it's definitely very interesting. Um, Bell, though, oh boy. I mean, right now, look at, like, just let me pull them up here. When you look at their, they've got the yield of like a covered call. Like, look at this, 13.475%. Now, and I'll pull up the 5-year to give you an idea, they have fallen a very, very far away. And you look right now, 29.61. I got to go back really far. So the last time they were this low was more than 15 years. I got to go to the 20 year. I got to go to the 20 year to get there. Yeah, so the last time they were this low was 2010. 2010. Let that sink in. Yeah, it's rough. Now, I don't think TELUS is quite that bad, but let's take a gander. Here we go. Come on. Now TELUS, their dividends getting up there 7.9, but I'll pull up their 15-year. I'm pretty sure I can hit this in TELUS's case. Yeah, the last time they were this low was 2016? So 2016. So it's bad for all the whole sector, but yeah, I know. I mean, and I'm still buying a Bell every month, but I'll tell you, I'm losing. I want to lose faith in them. I want to, but oh boy, I need to see some positivity. I need to see them start to turn things. I want to see the whole sector. Now, here's the thing: if it were just Bell, I would be a lot more worried than I am now. But because it's happening to the whole sector, um, it makes me at least a little bit better. I'm a little better because of that. All right, what do you think of Kazi? Let's take a look. All right. So these here, the Harvest Costco Enhanced High Income Shares ETF. Nice. Now this is one of their newer ones. This is one of the new ones. Half decent yield, 11.823%. Now, one of the nice things about this one is Costco. They're in that consumer staple sector. So for that reason, you're not going to have the big plummeting that you're going to get with like tech. So this is a sector that does tend to do a little bit better when, because people still need to eat. And Costco, they've got that whole added, buying it in bulk. So you're paying cheaper overall. So that's going to be good for them. So I think Kazi, I think they're going to do well. I think they will be one of those ones that are going to be pretty safe. And I think the dividend will be safe as a result as we go through. So yeah, I think they're fine. All right. The ad is gone. Yes. Yeah, there is an ad that starts there. And Tcash is on Wealthsimple. Perfect. Yeah, I thought it was. I was just like, Wealthsimple, let me in. I should never have even attempted to go in. Not when I'm streaming. Holy banana bread. Yeah, Tcash. When is BCE cutting the dividend? Oh, that's the question. I know right now they are a dividend aristocrat. I believe they're around 30 years, somewhere in that vicinity. I think if they weren't a dividend aristocrat with a long streak, I think they would have already cut it. So, but I think they're getting to a point that they kind of have to look at it and they have to sort of either they have to shore up some cash really fast and get things turned around fast. If they don't, they gotta cut it. You would think they gotta, but you gotta keep in mind too. What do you think is going to happen when they cut that dividend? What do you think will happen? That'll create a whole bunch of selling pressure. You could see Could you imagine a $15 BCE? If they were to cut that dividend, I don't know if it'll go that far, that low, but yeah, it'd be interesting. It would be interesting. So I don't know when they're going to do it. You know, and people have been, and it's funny, people have been asking about when's Bell cutting their dividend now for like the last 6 months. Um, you know, and I've heard a lot of people say, "Oh, it's going to happen any day. That it has to happen," and it hasn't. So yeah, we have to we'll have to see. Uh, Oy vey. Okay. Let's see. When will Telus and Bell reap the rewards of early retiring employees? That's a good question. That's a good question. No, I think it's going to be rough, and we're already like one of the things that we are seeing is, you know, the telecommunication companies are trying to find other things they can do. You know, like with Rogers, Rogers is doubling down on sports. TELUS is kind of well, TELUS is getting their fingers into AI, and you got TELUS Health and Bell. Bell is pretty much well, they bought that company in the U.S., so they're trying to stick their fingers into the U.S. And they kind of have to do that. There's not a lot of room to really grow in Canada. They've already got the market, and if we get to a point like Quebecor. So Quebecor, who owns Freedom, like they technically should be the fourth, national. Like they could do it, but so far they've kind of let me down. Now that's not going to be good. Now, if they start doing good, that's not going to be good for the share price of the telecoms. Um, it'll be good for Canadians in general because if they could become a serious threat on a national stage, that could be competition. That could drive some prices down. So it'll be interesting to see how this is all going to end when it comes to the telecommunication sector. But I'm not optimistic. I'm not optimistic on them this year. I think if they do recover, it's going to be slow and painful. But oh boy, what can I say? What can I say about them? Cowboy says the bailout of people from BCE will collapse the economy. They need to stay the course with the dividend. The dividend is the only thing keeping people. Yeah. I mean, the interesting thing. Now, I did do a deep dive on Bell not that long ago. Now, I will point out, and this is one thing people don't consider. They do have. I mean, they have a pretty deep moat. They do have a lot of resources. They can hold out longer, I think, than people are giving them credit for. But yeah, that I would hate. I mean, I'm just trying to think if we ever had a situation where let's say one of the telecommunications companies did collapse, um, that would completely change a lot of things, and probably not in a good way. Um, I don't think it'll happen though. I don't think it'll happen. Paul says, how many long-term good-paying jobs are left after 35 years of TELUS? When I retired, was making 38.16 an hour. I think they have had a 2% raise twice since I left. Yeah, that's the thing. That is the thing. Yeah, I think we're in a situation. I mean, we're in a situation right now where I think most Canadians are not making a livable wage. I mean, it is crazy. Now, when you look like, and here's the thing, you'll hear the average wage is X and X amount of dollars, but you have to realize that whatever they tell you the average wage is in Canada, that's skewed up to the upside because there's a lot of people that makes crazy amounts of money on the upper side. But yeah, it's not good. It's not good. Paul says if BCE cuts the dividend in half, the share price would cut in half too. That would be interesting. Yeah, it would definitely drop. I don't know if it would drop all the way in half, but uh, it would be. It wouldn't be. It wouldn't be good. It wouldn't be good because right now, that's I think the only thing. The only thing people are holding Bell for at this moment is that dividend, and if anything, if they were going to cut it, I think they would have to do it in waves, like just cut it a little bit. So it's still a really still unreasonably high, but at least that way there, you're not gonna lose that many people, and you'd have to almost sort of phase it in slowly, I think, just to prevent yourself from getting that massive cut in your share price. A government approved cricket farmer job. It's funny. Yeah, I know. Like, and I've heard this. The cricket protein. I know you can buy it. You could buy like cricket flour and stuff like that on Amazon, but I don't know how good it would be. I'm now. I'll try it. You know, I'd be willing to try it, but I would also be very willing to hate it after I tried it. So, oh boy, a house of cards. Yeah, I mean, in many ways, the economy sometimes feels very much like a house of cards. But what can I say? What can I say? BCE should rename their telecom to "There She Blows." Oh gosh, yeah, maybe, maybe. Yeah, it's a mess. I mean, it's an absolute mess. There's no way around it. All right. Well, guys, we're slowly getting towards the end. If you got your final questions, doesn't mean we're leaving. It just means that I'm asking for the final questions. Get them in the chat. Get them in the chat. We'll get to them. And mind you, sometimes it's funny. Actually, I think one day I asked for the final questions, and we ended up going like to another 2 hours. It was crazy. But what is this? Okay. I was looking here and it says share your referral link. I'm like, what referral link is that? And that's it's something in StreamYard. Like, you know, if you use StreamYard and you share the referral link, I think they give you some free time or something if people sign up for StreamYard. But I'm like, yeah, well, that would be a good link if you were, you know, if this was a like a channel about how to do YouTube and you were all YouTubers trying to learn, that would be fantastic. I have a feeling that most of you do not have any use whatsoever for StreamYard, so I'm not going to share it. I'm not going to share it. I'm just going to leave it be. I'm going to leave it be for sure. Oh boy. But I will share. I will share. Blossom. All right. All right. So this here is the beta version of the Blossom app. So they have a beta version, which is their desktop version. So I like the Blossom. I do have, by the way, I'll pull this up here. This is the 0 to 100K challenge right now. So it is sitting here. I do update it on the Blossom. So you can go in, take a look, see what's there. There's the T-Cash right there. So it's sitting in there doing it. It's one of the green ones. Them and EIT. I love EIT. So Canoe is in the green as well, and XUT, BNS, Fortis, EXE. One of the newer things that I added, but yeah, it's fine. It's fine. I right now when it comes to some of these return numbers on the Blossom, I always say double check it, especially in my case here, because I'm using National Bank. I have to manually enter everything in by hand because they don't yet have the API access to National Bank. So, I have to manually enter it. So these numbers could be off a little bit. The today's return part, that part's going to definitely be right. Now, if you're on something like Wealthsimple, you can actually attach Wealthsimple without any issues at all. Let's see. Rory says, can you still show your holdings without actually linking to your account on Blossom? Yeah, you can. Absolutely. What you do is you just manually enter in your holdings. So you would because that's what I have to do here because there is no link to National Bank. So yeah, you can definitely do that. All right. Whoops. Cowboy says, what's your guess on oil stocks for the upcoming week if Trump remains silent? If Trump remains silent, I kind of see. I don't see anything that should be driving the price of oil down. So I don't see it going up greatly. I would say a very slight move to the upside on oil, but nothing great. Lisa says I use National Bank also, but I don't mind manually adding. Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I don't mind either because I go in basically I go in once a month just before I am doing the 0 to 100K challenge, and then I update everything once again. So when you're looking right now at this does not have any of my April editions in here at all. So this is exactly the way it was just before the last episode. Oh, speaking of that, uh, we had the vote. We had the vote, and looks like it's back to a monthly. It's back to a monthly. So we'll do it once a month then. That's what the masses have said. I think it was like a 79% wanted it to go back to once a month. So I'm like, okay, sure, I will do that. Rory says I heard saber rattling with Iran again. Yeah, but at the same time, that'll only make things green. It's kind of one of those things. It's like if bad stuff happens in the Middle East, oil goes up. So we have to see, and I'm not sure. I'm not sure if we have anything coming out from OPEC this week or not. I'm not sure when OPEC is going to announce their next production goals. I think we're good for a bit on that. So what can I say? What can I say? Um. Oh yeah. Okay. Anyway, I was beginning to mention Blossom. So I do like it. I do like it. It's just a chance. One of the things I do like is that I can look at your guys' portfolio. So if you ever want a portfolio review, just connect with me on Blossom. There is a link down below. Um, Connect with me on Blossom and send me a direct message, and ask me, and we'll set it up, and we'll do it right here on the show. We'll do it on the show. We'll pull it up. Now you won't see, like you'll notice here. This here has dollar amounts like $23.78. You won't see that. Like when you look at somebody else's, you'll only see your own dollar values. But if you look at somebody else's, and I'll go to home, and we'll just grab somebody. I'm looking for. We'll do Canadian in a t-shirt. There we go. So when we click on his portfolio, all we can see, you'll notice percentages. So, he has 6% Coca-Cola, 5.1% Iron Mountain, 5.1% Ryokan, and there's TD, VOO. And you can pull them all up. Oh, he has a lot of stocks. Like a lot. But that's fine. But that's all we see. That's all what everybody else sees. Nobody but yourself will see the actual dollar amounts. So when I'm reviewing, like if let's say if I was reviewing Canadian a t-shirt, we would be going in. And the only reason I mentioned to, sign up on the Blossom, get me to send me that, send me your request, direct message, is that way there, I can come in ahead of time and I can basically what I would do with this, quite literally, is I would actually screenshot it and throw it into the whiteboard so I can write on it. But that way there I have a general idea. And if you have a stock, I'm sure he's got somebody in here that I do not. Oh, look, that's because he's added. Oh, they just recently added crypto to Blossom. So you can now add your crypto to it as well. And that's why. Oh, look at the Shiba Inu. Okay, there we go. There we go. That explains why he has so much. But all right, let's see. Duke Energy. He's got to have somebody here I'm not familiar with. All right, yeah, I don't know a lot about Ushart. Well, it's a core US REIT ETF, so I might want to look it up. I want to look it up ahead of time so I have an idea what it is, instead of if I was going through this review and I'm like, and this one here, I don't know what it is, but you get 1 point. Yeah, I want to know what it is. So that is the thing. That is the thing. All right. Cowboy says, yeah, monthly. Let's see, banana bread in a t-shirt. Absolutely. All right. And Ian says, I was nervous about linking my account with Blossom, but I did it anyway. I'm not a technical person. Could Blossom get hacked and someone gain access to my investment account? Okay. The answer is no, because all that Blossom has is it's basically an API. So all they have is information, but they don't, they don't have access to your account. So there's nothing like, even if somebody were to hack in, they could look, they'd be able to look at what you have, but they couldn't actually interact. So yeah, that's kind of how APIs work. There's a lot of security in there. So no, there's no danger of that. And Rory says, that's what I'm leery of. Keep in mind, if you're nervous about it, don't link your account. You could always manually enter it. There's no sort of like what Lisa does and what I have to do because I'm, using National Bank. Yeah, you can do that. You can just do that way as well. But yeah, it's not a thing that I would worry about. 9 says, yeah, Ian, the hacking part worries me about Blossom. All right. Cowboy says, I have trust issues with accessing and hacking. Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. But that's why I'm saying, like, you could sign up and you can just manually do stuff. You know, then there's a zero connection. You're not even getting an API. So, Mark says Brandon Beavis owns. Yeah, he is him and Max. And yeah, it is a great platform. So I've been involved with it. I think it's almost 2 years. Because yeah, it was about 2 years ago when I was sitting at home one day when Brandon Beavis emailed me and said, "Hey, can we have a conversation?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." So, that was pretty cool. That was when I was like, at that point. I mean, at that point, I was like, how many? I think I had less than I had maybe 2,000 subs. Considered myself to be a very, very small fry. I didn't think anybody even knew who I was, and it was just weird that somebody, one of the biggest, like, because Brandon Beavis is kind of one of the biggest Canadian YouTubers. The fact that he knew who I was, and I was like, oh yeah, I've watched your channel. I'm like, what? It's like, okay. But anyway, it was fun. It was fun. Ian says, I understand it's read only, but I shared my password to link it. Does Blossom have my account password on a record? Not in the way that you think. Basically, the way encryption works with that, and it's encrypted, so you can't, you still can't do anything with it. And if somebody were to hack in, they would not get, an unencrypted version of your password. So, and there's the thing too, just do it manually. I mean, quite literally, if you get concerns, do it manually. So, and quite literally, like, let me show you. Is it work? I don't know if it's working yet or not, but let's find out. We'll find out. All right. I'm going to go to portfolio. Actually, I think I go, yeah. All right. There's my, all right. Let me see here. I'm used to doing it on the other thing though. I think I do it through Insights maybe. No, Insights is where, yeah. Normally I have a link here, but here it is. It's right in here. So edit portfolio. Oh, not working yet on this one. What about add investments? Oh, add investment works. So what you would do is you would come in and you have this little button at the bottom. You see here it says add investments manually. So you would click on that. Feature coming soon. All right, they haven't yet added that. They don't have that working yet on here. But basically, it would pop up and it would give you. You would type in your stock. You would add it. You would tell them how many units. You would give them the adjusted cost base, and then you would, you can tell them where, if it's in your TFSA or what your broker is, and that's it. And then bang. But it is really, really easy to use. But yeah, as soon as this part is available, so these here. Now, if you don't want to, if you're like, okay, I'm okay with hooking up to the API, then pretty much in Canada, you'd have to have, Questrade or Wealthsimple. Those are the only two that you can hook up automatically. Anything else, you're going to be doing it yourself. So manually. And And like I said, it's really not that hard. It's not that hard. Rory says I might try it manually then. Yeah. Yeah, Blossom second round of investment is open tomorrow. Yeah, and that's basically it's a I don't want to call it a fundraiser, but it's an opportunity to buy basically you're buying stock. You're basically buying stock. It's not officially stock because they're not public, but you're basically buying in on Blossom, and then of course when they do go public, that'll actually turn into shares, and you'll probably make some money. Like Blossom has been exploding. Uh I know I think we're roughly at about 500,000 people, if not more. So it's just huge. It's gotten huge. But it makes sense. It makes sense. Ian says one thing you could do is link the account, then change passwords on your investment account. It won't update, but it will fill in all of the info for you. There you go. Yeah, if you're on Questrade or Simple, you could always just change your password, then link it, let it populate the information, then go back and change your password again. Yeah, absolutely. That's another way around it. But I've used it. I've done a lot of things with APIs in the past, and they're very very safe. That's all I can say. But I understand if you have fear, do it manually. Then you've got no fear at all. Ian says, I still don't understand completely. I should research encryption and come back with more questions. Okay, fair enough. Cowboy says, my last insurance update stated if I had smart thermostat would not be covered for damages if a hacker turned off the heating system. Okay, interesting, interesting. Um, I don't even think that's a problem, Cowboy, to be honest. I have never heard of a single story of hackers going around turning off people's heat. I honestly haven't heard that. I haven't heard that. Now they probably you got to look at it this way. Insurance companies they find every loophole they can to not pay out. So they probably have people sitting there and probably in an office room and somebody saying, "Well, what if a hacker turned off his heat?" Yeah, we won't pay for that. We won't pay for that. Let's throw that in. That's a good one. It's kind of that way. Yeah. And 9 says I have 2FA, so two-factor authentication. All my brokerage accounts would be super hard for a hacker to get in my. Yeah, exactly. I mean, any guys, I will tell you this right now. Anything that offers you 2FA, take it. The only thing a little bit more secure than 2FA is if it's some things you can have like an actual fob where it generates a code. That's a little bit more safe, but for most things, I mean, if you have a hacker who can get through 2FA, they're probably not interested in you, to be honest. Yeah, but yeah, no, 2FA is definitely huge. And hackers are getting better. Keep in mind, with the AI explosion, hackers are definitely, they're definitely using AI, and they're only going to get better. It's a big thing. Ian says I don't trust insurance companies. When you buy the policy, they make it sound great. Go to claim, and there's some reason I'm void or deductible is too high. Yeah. Oh yeah. Insurance companies they when they sign an agreement with you, they don't want to ever pay you. Their goal is to just get free money from you, 100%. And that is why they will look for every possible loophole to keep you from to keep you from having to pay out. Roku says never saw fob for private use. Use them many times at work though. Yeah, it depends. Like there's different ones that you can get, and some of them are more or less. They're not even fobs anymore. Most of them are apps that you can put on your phone. So I know Google has one. Anybody? I used to play World of Warcraft. They have one. So it would generate a code, and you would have to enter the code to log into your account. And it's just that most of them are no longer actual fobs per se. I still call them a fob, probably. I don't know why, but yeah, most of them are more or less a little program sits on your phone. It'll generate a code. You then have to enter the code as you log in, and that's your extra layer of protection. Ian says, "Am I the only person who hits send by mistake when typing a comment?" No, no, I've done it many times. Yeah, and Nine has done it. Yeah, that's the thing. The Google Authenticator. Yeah, exactly. That's the exact one I was talking about. Um, I have something. I have something hooked up to it. I not well simple though. Roku has well simple, but yeah, there absolutely. That's a fantastic thing. Rory says Fabio. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, Fabio. We'll get a no shirt and a little bit of stringy blonde hair and call it Fabio. That would actually make a funny looking picture too. So I like it. I like it, Fabio. Index crypto uses it too. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, and that's the thing. There are different ones like that that you can definitely use. So I would love to see. I would love to see passwords completely go away and everybody have some kind of a uh, I was going to say fob again, but everybody has their own little apps that does everything like that for them. Um, especially as we move into quantum, and we start getting into quantum encryption and quantum hackers, it's going to get interesting. I think it's going to get interesting. And there's things like one of the things I like is with my computer. One thing that people do all the time is that people will use the same password on everything. So here's the thing. Somebody just has to hack one. Basically pick whatever is the least secure of the things that you log into. That's all they have to crack. And then they have access to everything else that you have. They just have to because you're using the same password. Now, one of the nice things with a Mac is a Mac will if you have a full Mac system. So like, in my case, yeah, I've got my Mac Studio, my iPad, my iPhone, all of that put together. Also a MacBook. So it can remember passwords across it and it will create them for me. I don't even know what they are. It just creates it and it's like, yeah, I created it for this site. And so when I go from one device to the other, because it's all connected, it knows which password is for each thing. And that way I'm not using the same password on everything. I got all of these different ones that the MacBook uses. Now the only downside to it is if I needed access to one of my things and I was using somebody else's computer and it was like a Windows computer, then I wouldn't have access to my password. I would have to, well, I could reset it. I could reset it and get it that way, but yeah, or just get it off my phone. All of that fun stuff. All right. Ian says, actually, even using online banking spooks me a bit. Let's see. That being said, I often get emails saying my password was leaked, but I have never been hacked or I've lost money because of it. No, sometimes what happens though, and this may or may not be with this email, but sometimes there's huge breaches and your password may have been on something in that breach. So that might be what if, I don't know where you're hearing it from, but I know when I go into my password manager, some of my older passwords, it'll say, "Oh, this was involved in a breach." And I know not to use that password at all at that point. So yeah, that does happen. Doesn't necessarily mean that that hacker is looking because it really just depends on what it is. But yeah, it just means it was in a breach. Ian says I use the same password for things that I don't care about: Netflix, Air Canada, stuff like that. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah. Yeah. No, I have passwords that I will. I have some passwords that are stupid passwords that I have on old things that I don't care about as well. So yeah, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. And I always go with when I come up with a password, I use a passphrase. So how a passphrase works is you take a phrase. So let's say my password is going to be let's say I love banana bread. So instead, I wouldn't actually type out I love banana bread, but I would probably go with an ILBB, and then I'll have some standard numbers or something. I'll throw that on it, maybe a symbol or two, and just something simple like that. Or maybe it's maybe you're a big fan of Ricky Martin, and you could say I love Ricky Martin, so ILRM, and then your code, and there's lots of ways to come up with one, but it's easier on the Mac because quite literally it creates this nonsensical string of something as your password. So I'm like, okay, there's no way I could even remember that if I wanted to. Let's see. Roku says I got all my Aeroplan miles stolen one time. Filed a claim and got them all back though. Nice, nice. I don't think I've ever been hacked. Not to say that I'm asking you. It's not a challenge. I just want to put that out there. Getting into the House Commons is pretty easy. Ah, yeah. You just got to be. Actually, I don't even know what they use. So yeah, it probably is. All right, guys, we hit 2 hours. We hit 2 hours. Bismarcky. Bismarcky says, I've used movie lines and add numbers and symbols. Yeah, exactly. There we go. So that is still, it's like Luke, I am your father, that type of thing, and then throw your symbols at the end, or may the force be with you, or you know, any other classic movie line for sure. And of course, actually, the probably it's even better if it's a movie that most people haven't seen. So nothing wrong with that. Ian says I can't even remember how to access my airlines. Got a bunch, but they not fun to use to buy flights. And Rory saying, "Have a good weekend, everyone." Yeah, absolutely, guys. There we go. Let's go big screen. Let's go big screen. Absolutely. So we'll be back on the Wednesday. We got a market close, and gold mining companies coming up on Tuesday's video. It's a good one. It's a good one. And these are crazy returns. So you'll definitely want to check that out. Until next time, guys, enjoy your week. Let's hope it's green. Let's hope it's green. Unless, of course, you're looking for some dips. Then maybe you can have some red. But we'll be back on Wednesday. And until then, everyone, take care.